28th July 2024. This is my log for my recent meditation and out-of-body experiences. The latest experience that I had was yesterday morning. So I slept around 3 a.m. Saturday morning, then woke up at 9 a.m. in the morning. Then I came to school and immediately went into studio and decided to meditate for a while. I used timer function from the Expand app and played Focus 10 audio without music, and I put the timer for 70 minutes and then lay on the beanbag and was just meditating. After this 70 minutes was over, I could have woken up and then continued with my day, but I decided to remain a bit longer, seeing there if anything may happen. And sure enough, after maybe 40 or 45 minutes, I'd say, I started to hear the air pulsation and I waited for the connection to establish. But this time I was not sure if the connection was established or not, because my non-physical head was doing the swaying motion movement like this. And I was very sure that my physical head was not moving at all, because the way I was sitting there, at first I was laying on the beanbag with my legs straight out, stretched. Then after the 70 minutes timer was done, I changed the position. I was sitting with my crossed legs and my hands like that over my second chakra. So just basically like that on a beanbag. And the beanbag was positioned in such a way that my head was at an angle of around 80 or 85 degrees. So as soon as I started feeling that my head was not at an angle, but was straight, it felt a bit strange for me. So I didn't actually get up myself and just kept on waiting. At some point I felt a presence in the room and there was a little bit of fear in me, and immediately I started to put the energy balloon around me and then also repeated the affirmation, "I'm protected by light." While doing that, I was thinking, why am I afraid? Why should I be afraid? Because nothing can harm me anyways. But it didn't matter, because after the experience, I understood that it actually probably helped. So I was just creating this energy balloon and then didn't go up and out at all, just sitting there. And suddenly everything went completely black, completely dark. The room was already dark and my eyes were also closed. So obviously it was dark, but this was different kind of darkness. This was the kind of darkness that I experience when I'm already out of body and then start to do mental sensing around the room and move. This darkness is different than while already I'm out of body and then I'm sensing around and moving around and suddenly there's nothingness. So it was that kind of darkness. I just waited, remained there and was just trying to see what's happening. And soon I started to hear sound of a city, I guess, and people moving around all around me, as if I was standing at a street somewhere and then there's a lot of people moving around. So it felt like that, but I was not able to see yet anything. And I was trying to make sense of what language they are speaking, to try and make sense of where I am. And this is the main theme of this experience. So I questioned myself, what is this place? Where am I? Maybe I can understand the language and then figure out where I am. So I was trying to listen and I was able to understand and I was able to catch a phrase or two, but couldn't make sense of what language that is. At first I thought, is it Nepali language? And then I listened carefully and it was not Nepali language, but I was able to make sense what they were saying. And I started to see a wall on my left side and some buildings to my right side. Then I looked around and then saw a small shop and I saw some people going in and out of that shop. So I decided to enter the shop and ask them what this place was. So I entered the shop and I saw a little girl doing something around in the shop, and I saw probably was her brother or father, I don't know. But so this man and little girl were there in the shop, and then I tried to talk with them and they were talking back to me, but I don't remember what I was talking with them. That has been some theme in my experiences. That's something I don't remember. Anyways, the second question I asked them was, do you understand me in English? So the first language was something that I had heard other people speak out on the street. So apparently I could speak that language, but I was not so sure and I was not confident or something like that. So I asked them this question, do you understand me? And then what is this place and something like that. And they were able to respond to me in this language or in English language. But the respond was as if I'm hearing the reply inside my mind and not as the sound traveling through air and basically how it works in the physical reality. It was not like that. And I told them that I wanted to know what place this was, and then hopefully they could help me figure this out. And then they replied something about the place, but I don't remember what they replied. So I had an idea in my mind that I'd go up at a vantage point to a certain height and observe the ground from the above or from the sky, let's say. Then I thought that way I could make sense of the geographic map of the world and understand where I am. And the little girl came close to me and then she said, okay, I can help you with that. And this was strange because I had not asked them about how I wanted to just go up and watch from the sky. She knew somehow. And then she said she can help. And then we exited this shop and we're outside on the street and she gave me her hand. And she didn't say anything, but I understood that she wanted me to hold the hand. So I held her hand and then we were starting to rise up. And we reached a certain height to a certain vantage point. And I was still not able to make any clue of what this place was where I had suddenly appeared. So at this point, I could feel her, but I could not see her as clearly as I was seeing her while on the ground. Then I thought, this is nice to be able to observe this place from this vantage point, but I don't still understand where I am. So this is all what I'm thinking in my mind. So my idea is, what if I could travel around the planet and see where the Himalayas are? Then I could make sense of the distance and everything. As soon as I had that thought, we started to go even higher, and this time we exited, let's say, the atmosphere of the planet. We're basically outside of the planet. Even at this point, I was not able to understand where this was, and then I was thinking about Himalayas. Then we started to go counterclockwise around the planet and a little more than half circle around the planet. I was able to make sense of the landmass that is the Southeast Asia. And when I saw that, I understood, because of the geographical landmass, that I was definitely not in Nepal, and still I didn't know where I had landed before. But at this point I didn't even care because of the feeling that I was having around my body. There was a certain vibration, very mild, very smooth, soothing vibrations around me that I could feel, and the feeling of weightlessness just floating up there. And in my mind I was both happy, excited, and also a little bit of fear that I was already out of the planet and thinking, what if I can't get back? And with this thought, I was immediately back on the ground. And at this point, I could see the little girl again. I thanked her for this tour, for this whole experience. Then she just went back inside the shop. Then I was just back in my body. So now thinking about the experience, I feel that this little girl was none other than one of my guides. And this guide took me from the studio room that I was laying down to this another space, to the outer space and back. This is what I feel has happened. And this actually also checks out one of my objectives to go out of the planet. There was already one experience in which I was almost out of the planet. In that experience, I was just taken from Tallinn, just something or somebody, some force behind me gently pulling up and around the planet and then bringing me down to Kathmandu, because I had been asking to take me to Kathmandu. And since that happened, I understood that this is a thought-responsive environment and what we think can happen. And looking back on my experiences, what I've felt is whenever I'm close to the physical body, there's mostly unclear vision, and sometimes the affirmations don't work as strongly. And there's this other thing that I like to call the proximity effect, and the proximity being that I'm close to my physical body. Whenever I have my physical eyes covered with my physical hands on my sleeping position and I'm out of my body and still close to my body, I can't seem to open my eyes in the non-physical at all. And multiple experiences have proven to me that whenever I'm close to the body and I try to open my eyes, or when my legs are not straight and then or is at a bend or a certain position while I sleep, then somehow it's difficult for me to pull all of my non-physical energy out from my body and away from the bed. But what I've also learned is that it does not matter. As soon as I'm out, or even a portion of me is out, I just have to go away from the room, even if I don't see as much clearly as I want to see. Because once I'm outside of the proximity effect circle, let's say, then everything starts to work well. The vision is there, the movements are there, it all works out. I just have to be away from the body as soon as possible, as soon as I'm out. And while reading the book, The Projection of Astral Body by Sylvian Muldoon, I realized that he had already found about this proximity effect, and he was calling it being inside the silver chord's activity range. And me being a sound designer and just working with audios a lot, I just called it proximity effect, because whenever we are close to a microphone, we have this bassy, boomy sound, and we just call it proximity effect. And this is what I felt, and apparently it is a thing. And now I'm starting the experiment to understand how affirmations work, or how long should any affirmation be repeated in order for that to just be realized. But this can be highly subjective because of how my internal mind or subconscious works versus somebody else's. For some people, it can be that with just repeating affirmations before falling asleep, they may just experience what they wanted. But for me, the first consciously willed out-of-body experience happened after 20 days of repeating the affirmations, and then I was out. While meeting my grandma, it was already about 8 or 9 days of repeating the affirmations again and again during the meditation, during the day, and during the meditation in the evening, and as well as before falling asleep. So I was doing this for about 8 or 9 days, and then I was able to meet her. So some of the affirmations have worked in a different way. For example, sometimes I say, take me out of the planet. I just say that for a few days and then nothing's happening. So I change the affirmation to something else and nothing's happening. And then I keep on changing the affirmation to this and that, as in what I want. And if I keep on changing the objectives like this, what I've seen is some of the objectives that I had put in my mind like a week ago or 2 weeks ago is just randomly given or randomly happens. Like this one, well, I was just taken out of the planet and I was observing the planet from outside. But this was my affirmation or objective probably 2 weeks ago. So this is the experiment. I'm trying to see how this affirmation and objectives works. And this experiment will probably just prove how it works to me, because this may be again highly subjective. Anyways, there are very good experiences happening, and I definitely know that my guides are helping. And I have had a very interesting interaction with my guide, in which my guide was showing me how it feels to be in a guide's position to guide me, who is in a physical world, and then how is it when I'm afraid, when the guides are already there, but I'm still afraid. So I was given a glimpse of how it feels from a guide's perspective, and I'll share with you this experience of this glimpse in my future log, because I still need to process and understand the experience a bit clearly. Well, good experiences. And see you after the next experience.